This is the Bible Ranger, and this is part 3 of the Antichrist series, The Rise of the Antichrist, End Times Made Easy. The Rise of the Antichrist. All right, so in Daniel chapter 11, verses 21 to 31, these verses speak about the Antichrist before the tribulation, kind of how he first started out. Now, the popular teaching is that the Antichrist is going to come out of the European Union and in the near future, and most likely Italy. Okay, and then right here in the middle, from here to here is the European Union. And down below, it's Africa and Middle East. So there's no direct verses of its origin that it's going to come from Europe. There's no verses like that. However, there is the interpretation of when Daniel talks about the kingdoms of the world that have passed already. And the fourth kingdom is not named, but is given credit to the Roman Empire. And I can see why, okay? And that's still a possibility. I just want you to know another possibility. So I can't be dogmatic about this because in the Bible, in Daniel chapter 12, it says that we don't fully understand because it's sealed until the end. And we don't really know when the actual end is. So if we look at the map again, the bottom of this is it's from Africa and Middle East. And that's all Muslim controlled areas right there. So we can't just think about the European up here. That's half of it. We also have down here, which is the Muslim group. All right, the little horn. This is one of the names of the actual Antichrist, okay? So remember that the Bible is Israel and Jerusalem centered, okay? So you'll see this as we go deeper into the study. Not just this video, but other ones. So we're going to start reading from Daniel chapter 11, verse 21, and we're going to read them verse by verse. On the screen here, I have a simpler interpretation of it, okay? So please feel free to read verses 21 to 31. I did a compilation of 5 different versions of the Bible and what was the easiest to understand altogether, okay? So what it says it says, there will come a despicable person, and by flatteries will obtain the kingdom without warning. Oh, wait a minute, I thought the Antichrist, everybody was going to love him. That's not what the Bible says. Despicable, I mean lowly person, not of royal status, and he wins the kingdom by flatteries. So he's going to deceive people. He kind of does something I call island tactics. Remember that show? I didn't really see but more than 1 or 2 episodes where they kind of come up with ideas and who can you trust and who can you betray, who can you use. That's kind of what the Antichrist is going to do. So he tries to imitate Christ because when it says here he's not of royal descent, there's a verse in the Bible that talks about Christ as there was nothing special to look at physically about Christ. Well, Satan is always imitating Jesus one way or another. So the popular teaching is that he's loved by all the non-believers. Now, as you can see by that first verse that we just said, verse 21, he's kind of despicable. And you'll find out that there are people that are trying to fight against him. They don't all follow him. But we'll continue that in a second. So verse 22, he's a good military conqueror. Okay, he is good at that. He's gifted demonically. Verse 23, he will ascend to power with a small force originally. That force is ruthless, and it gets the job done. Now he's going to enter into alliances, and he's going to be deceitful. He's going to behave treacherous and falsely. You know, people are going to believe him. Apparently, he has some kind of charisma and leadership qualities. And do remember that when Hitler first started, I hear he was a corporal. I hear that when he first went to vote for the election, his election, that he only got 20% of the votes originally. And then all of a sudden, he came to power and he became a dictator. Something very similar to this. Now, verse 24, Daniel 11:24, he will plunder the land and possessions through peace. This might be where if you do what I say, I'm going to let you run your country, kind of what Hitler did with, I don't know if he did it with Poland, but he did it with some countries. Like, look, I'm just going to take some of your stuff, some of your resources, but you're going to be able to run your country, okay? You just don't fight us. And a lot of them, that was called peace, but it's not really peace. So this might be the same thing with the Antichrist. where as long as you do what we say, there's peace between us. So he will distribute the spoils among his followers. He will accomplish more than his fathers did. And when I say fathers, I mean his fathers' fathers and so forth, lineage. But I do want to say this, that when Muhammad first started, he had a very small following. And it wasn't until he was when they went to conquer other places that he shared the spoils and the resources. Everybody started joining him, and it became very popular. So it seems like the same tactics are being employed here. And I don't want you to think that I am not trying to pick on Muslims or have nothing like that. In my military career, I've spent time with Muslims, incredible people, very hospitable. I'm not talking about individuals. I'm talking about the system. And the system is an Antichrist system. Individually, excellent, great people. But in the Quran, it does say when their Messiah comes, you have to do basically what he says. And part of what it says is that we are infidels. So you think about that. All right, so he plans to attack. This is the Antichrist again. He plans to attack the strong cities for a time. He makes plans, but it doesn't come to pass. Like something gets in the way. So, as you can see, those who oppose him, he attacks. So he's not loved with everybody. And those who submit, he leaves alone. There's no love here, okay? It's more like might is right. It's kind of the way he's running things. All right, so in Daniel 11:25, the Antichrist now has a large army. And he puts his eyes on battling the king of the south. And most likely is Egypt. I think in Isaiah 19 or Ezekiel 19, I can't remember. There's other reasons to believe that is Egypt. The king of the south's army is powerful. I say Egypt. But he's not going to prevail because there's defection in his ranks. Most likely one of the things that is with Egypt right now is that since the 60s, they haven't been fighting, or maybe the 70s, but it's better for their economy with being friends or allies with Israel. They don't mind, maybe they don't like each other religious wise, but it works good for them economically. And that's not good for somebody who's a zealot for the Antichrist or for the Muslim religion in this case. So in Daniel 11:26, this is Egypt's table. In Egypt, people who eat at his table, they're going to betray him. Okay, and many will die in that battle. So Daniel 11:27, those two kings, Egypt and the Antichrist, they're going to lie to each other, but it comes to nothing. That's what that verse says. Now, verse 28 said that the Antichrist now returns back home with great riches, obviously from Egypt. And now he sets his eyes on the Holy Covenant. And every time, according to one of the commentaries, every time they mention the word Holy Covenant, that always is reference to Israel when Abraham and God made a covenant. So that's all it says is Holy Covenant, but almost for sure it's Israel. All right. So Daniel 11:29. Once again, the Antichrist, so apparently some time passed, and maybe Egypt is boasting like, maybe you got us by surprise the first time, but now we have our ducks in order, and don't come this way anyway. The Antichrist is like, he's going to say, okay, he's going to try to attack Egypt again, the king of the south. But this time, he's not going to be able to prevail. The Antichrist is not going to be able to prevail. Verse 30, the Antichrist is driven back because of the navy of the West. He's actually afraid of it. Isn't that incredible? And the way the actual Bible verse, it sounds like an involvement from the West. So this is one of the reasons where it makes sense where the Antichrist is from the Muslim area, where like, look, those people, they have their own issues, and as long as you leave them alone, let them fix their own problems and nobody's involved. So maybe now the Antichrist is interfering with the oil or interfering with things of the West where it's their economy. And they're like, no, we're not going to let that happen to you. So the Antichrist, Egypt gets help, but it says from the Isles of Chittim. That's an island somewhere here. I can't remember exactly where it is, but it also means that it's from the West. And And I remember reading an article one time where Turkey says that we have a very strong army. We actually have the fourth largest army, but we have a weak navy. And, you know, Navy is pretty important. You know, I hate to admit that coming from a different branch from the military, but go Navy. And they actually, they're able to make the actual Antichrist forces back away. He literally leaves. And so good job, guys. Verse 31, he teams up with the Antichrist, with other people that are against Israel. And when he starts to go to Israel and he starts to ravage the Israelites, the Jerusalem, and we'll continue this because that's now the beginning of the tribulation, and that actually marks the 3.5 years of the tribulation. Okay, so we'll continue that in the next video. All right, we talked about the rise of the Antichrist, but we need to remember the rise of the real King, Jesus. Now he's coming back, and he's going to be the reigning king. Okay, but right now you can make him king and Lord of your life, right in your heart. Just got to repent and follow him. Okay, and so if this is the Bible Ranger, and on your way out, if you don't mind, subscribe, thumbs up, and share it. And I'm trying to keep the Bible simple yet rich in content. Thank you very much.